I'll be back. Let me know. Text me.
Will do.
Okay.
Can we like do it again?
Yeah, go.
Can we do it again?
Yeah, go.
You not
I wanted to play. I said so many times that I wanted to quit, but I really can't because this is all I'm good at. I'm really not good at anything else, but physically doing things, playing music, that was my go-to, you know. Like any other medication in the world would like help me, but playing was very like therapeutic.
Edgar was born in Beverly Hills, and at the time we were living in Echo Park. Since he was born in '96, and we lived in Echo Park until 2007. We moved to Colorado Springs, and then we moved back in almost by the end of 2009. We come back after the death of his brother, of my elder son, Alex Aldana. And we were living in Chino, and then we moved here in 2010.
I have 4 kids, 2 daughters and 2 boys. Natalie is my first daughter. Star, Alex, and Edgar.
Originally, I wanted to become a writer. I was a musician in elementary school. I felt like I could control the world that either I'm adapting from another place or just an original piece. It has like kind of like the same adrenaline as like playing music. To me, I always come up with the ending.
Well, I have to take some medicine for. It's just something I have to take daily. But I've been having, because it's my bone marrow has been doing better, and I've been feeling a whole lot better. So I have to take them literally every single day. But it doesn't bother me, you know, because it'll go away eventually. But yeah. It was somewhere around like the end of the semester of 2018, I think. Yeah, it was 2018 where I couldn't move like my legs, my arm. It was just painful. It was just getting awful. And it was actually in this room. So it was like consistently happening every single time. Like when I was laying down, when I was walking. And the worst thing is this was happening even when I was getting gigs. And when I was going to jam session, they would notice that I would not be moving this leg, and I would be just moving this leg. So I'll be just kind of slagging with one leg to another to get to the destination. And I was driving myself to places. I just wanted to play.
There was one day that he probably forgot to put his shirt, and he walked out, and I had my door open, and I saw him with some like 4 or 5 black spots. I remember a day prior to that, me and him, we have gone out, I don't remember where, and we ate chocolate. And I do react with also black spots on my body sometimes when I eat chocolate. So I thought, well, hey, I guess you're just like me, you're having some allergic reaction to chocolate. But I let it go.
They knew that I was like, so they knew that something was wrong, but they just couldn't figure it out. It wasn't until one day, like, I was taking off my shirt in the shower, and my dad noticed he saw a bunch of mold or black things on my back.
One day, he told me he have a lot of pain. He cannot even walk.
To the point that he couldn't get up from bed. Paramedics, the ambulance came, and they managed to get him out. He walked slowly, so he had him already, almost inside of he had on the stretcher, ready to put him on the ambulance. And over the radio, the Pomona Hospital declined to accept him because they said he has been going there too often for the last 4 or 5 times in a lapse of a month and a half. And there was no bed for him. There was nothing wrong with him.
So we decided to go to the USC hospital.
When I got into the emergency room, they did a skin biopsy first. I waited for about an hour or 2 hours or so, just sitting there and just not sitting, laying down on my bed. And then all of a sudden this group of doctors come in out of nowhere. And I remember I was just laying still. My mom was right there. One of the doctors says, "There's no easy way to say this to you. You have cancer."
Nobody in my family have cancer, not even know a family too. So Edgar started crying, and I try to process. And I want to be strong. Look at me and say, "Can you please wait for me for a minute? I have to be outside." So in that moment, I walk away and go outside and start screaming and crying. I say, this is not right. This is like a nightmare for me.
That doesn't make any sense. Like, how do I have cancer? It's like, we ran the tests a couple of times. We analyzed it. You have cancer. It's like, well, what kind of cancer? And he's like, well, we're going to find that out right now. We need to do some blood samples and yada, yada, yada. And that's when they poked holes in me and called my dad. My dad got out of work immediately. He says, I have to leave. When I asked the doctor about that, I was like, how is this possible? I don't do drugs. I don't do any of this stuff. Like, he gave me this answer, and I hate this fucking answer. And he just says, that's just how it happens. Almost every single doctor said that to me. I don't know what's the name of the cancer that I have because it was way too long. My mother has it. It's way too long. It's too hard to pronounce. But like, they never had this type of cancer before. This is like very rare. They had it a couple times, like 1 or 2 patients. They wanted to do chemotherapy starting immediately. And since this was a very rare cancer, they weren't too sure if it was going to work or not. I pretty much asked them, so you're saying that if it doesn't work, I'm going to die? The guy just said, yes.
I wanted to cry, but I was holding back too. The mind, the soul, does not accept death and will reject death and will fight death. And I will not contemplate that. I sat, I prayed, I meditated, and I decided to leave everything to God and contemplate death And now it's like, hey, you know what? It's your show. It's your game. We're here just practicing, to stop or delay the inevitable, what's going to happen.
Have to be positive because Edgar needs us. We're doing so. For him, it's too hard to deal what he got in that moment. He got this cancer face to face.
That first month was basically just a testing phase.
They had to take samples to do a biopsy on those black spots that he had.
I was doing chemo, checking my vitals, putting needles in me to do blood samples every single night, every 4 hours of every single day. They'll always serve food too, which I hated the food. I hate hospital food. Hospital food is basically like jail food. It's terrible. It's awful. And I never ate any of the hospital food. And which brought the hospital, some of the doctors concerned because they were like, oh, he's not eating of the food. No, it's just the food was shit.
I had to do myself my own research about his cancer, reading, and to see if they have any new treatment in the future for him. And have to learn to see
And then one of the doctors stated the fact that they had to do a bone marrow biopsy, which I never heard of that. What they do, they lay you on your stomach, they lift up your shirt and kind of pull down your pants a little bit, and they try to move around your hips and find the bone marrow, and pretty much put like anesthesia, but like very painful anesthesia, because it's basically like acid. It's like burning your skin, but it's only like numbing the area. And what they'll do, they'll put like a huge needle on you, and they'll drill the skin all the way to almost to your bone, and then they'll just suck the bone marrow out of you to see if how your bone marrow is doing, to see if the cells are being healthy or positive. I asked them, can you put me on sedation before they do it? Because they told me it's going to be a little bit painful. I remember I was laying and I was just like singing just songs, like Blackbird or something, and there was like the guy who was the assistant helping, and he was just like, I asked him, what's your favorite Beatles song? And he's like, I don't know, man, I like Blackbird. I was like, oh. And I started saying Blackbird sing in the dead of night. And the doctor came in and I was singing, he's like, he's singing, like, why is he singing? He's like, I think I don't know, he just wants to sing. And he's like, oh, okay, and he was doing the procedure, and then before he was in the procedure, I asked the doctor, it's like, do you like the Beatles? I was like, yeah. I was like, oh man, I love the Beatles, they're so good. And then I asked the guy, I was like, what's your favorite Beatles song? And the guy said, I don't know, there's a lot, man. And it was like, oh, come on, like, I know like almost all of them, man, just like give me one. And he said, a day in the life. He's like, and I legit, without missing a beat, I sang the whole entire thing, and then the guy was just like, I told the guy, hey, sing along. It's like, I didn't even know the words. Like, what, I don't know the words. And then I immediately started singing it, and then he continuously kept doing it, and then I felt the metal hitting my bone. I was like, bam, 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 bam. I read the news today, and then I just continuously kept on singing it, and the guy got scared. He's like, oh my God, are you okay? He's like, oh no, this is just part of the song. It's just like, the guy started laughing. It's like, this is a long song. And then when the song was over, I was like, all right. It's like, I'm ready for the bone marrow transplant. He's like, oh, it's over already. I was like, wait, what? I was like, yeah, it's over. I thought it was gonna be like 2 hours. It's like, I know, we were only here for 5 minutes. And they got me out, and then they put me back in the bed. I put me back in my hospital bed, and I was just like, I was being even more high. I remembered that I'm the only son that they have, and the son that he had would have passed away. He was a musician too. Actually, this guitar is actually not mine. This is his. Right here, Alex. He had this weird like signature he did. I still remember him playing on this guitar when we were in Colorado, and he was playing like Blink-182 songs. I thought he was like the coolest guitar player ever. When he died, we found this, and we were like, oh my God, we haven't seen this guitar in forever.
Alex, Edgar is kind of like the version of Alex, just that light skin, and it's more of a. I think both are almost identical on how they behave, how they talk, how they make fun, how they love to have fun. I mean, music-wise, you know, I mean, they love each other when Alex was alive. Alex was always looking after him, and it's sometimes I call even Edgar Alex by mistake. Sometimes when he has answered the phone, because of the voice, the tone, he's like, oh my God. And sometimes he makes a move, he comes out of like dancing or makes some, and the first thing like, oh my God, there's Alex. Because for some reason Alex will do the same stupid funny things.
Now they have a goal, because they didn't know what was the goal. So they were pretty much scared shitless. Since they did the bone marrow biopsy, they were like, okay, now we know the goal. They came in to my room and they were like, the plan is for you to get a bone marrow transplant as soon as possible. But first things first, we need to get rid of all of your cells. All of them. So the good cells and the bad cells. And we need to kill your immune system in my body. I said, do I have to stay and be in the hospital for that? It says, actually, no. You could be an outpatient. We will let you go out of the hospital for a couple of days, but you need to come back and do more chemo. So I was like, okay. I was like, that's fine. I'm happy about that. I'm happy with that because I wanted to get out of that hospital so fucking badly. For the first time in a long time, felt like a long time to me. I finally slept on my own bed. I was asleep so well and so nice that I didn't have a nurse coming every 4 hours to wake me up to do vitals or to poke me to check on my blood. I felt nervous, anxiety-driven, stressful. I was going out and doing things, but I was still going to the hospital. There was some parts of me like, oh man, I don't want to go out. Because like, what would I do? Well, I needed to find a goal, I needed to find something. Trying to go out to jam with people or play with people was really nice. I have to go see my caretaker over in the hospital. I forgot her name. She was really nice. She was the one planning out the schedule. I was like, hey, we're gonna do a bone marrow biopsy here, and then we're gonna do more chemo, and then more chemo, and then a bone marrow biopsy, blah, 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 blah.
I don't know how you can say he's been women. Sure. So let me because he said it was let me if you do something,
Oh, yes.
consequence.
Oh, God, I love this video.
And then somebody
I
says,
love this video.
that
And
violence
everybody's losing their
is a
crap,
result
their
of
shit at
action.
the comment
What
section.
you're engaging in there. Let me
Oh, so good. It's nice to add a little healthy dose of stupid. They're funny though. They're just entertainment. They're nothing else. They're just entertainment.
We had to stay in the hospital for so many days.
All of a sudden, one of you guys messed up. You or mom messed up.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Last count. He's been there many times. Many times. You know, at one point it's hospital was my home. We were there all the time. 24/7. The problem is that a couple of times when he has been in the hospital, he wants just to, remove everything and just go home. And the problem with that is that the doctor said, look, Edgar, if you do that, we cannot officially discharge you. And that creates a problem. Health risk, his safety, and also the economical one. It's a risk that you take. And when we left, we said, hey, if you're feeling dizziness, if you're feeling this, call 911, come directly back right away. The next day. So walking out of the hospital with the minimum, levels of his cells coming up. And, next day we could just back in the emergency room, because his blood cells will drop. Transfusion had to be ready for him right away. So all those accommodation had to be done before he was discharged.
A lot of people will not like me playing a pick on this. It isn't even my guitar.
Since there was no data, no history of how to treat or cure that cancer, they gave us the same prognosis of a 75-year-old man on a 22-year-old.
Mi madre, happy birthday.
Love you.
Actually, they spoke about it. They said, well, there's a drug that it's on chemical trials, though. But we don't know if it's going to be approved by the FDA. This new drug, what it does is, instead of the typical or the traditional chemotherapy, this new drug doesn't go to your immune system, to your bone marrow. It just goes in there and start hunting down the cancer cells.
Like, I had to take pills every single day. I had to be weary about my strength because I was still feeling weak and draining. And I was still feeling a bit depressed at times.
Every Friday or every Saturday we have to go, or Sunday, whatever, we have to go over there.
Edgar was very, very desperate that he didn't want the PICC line anymore.
The doctors, they were just like, we don't know what the future holds up. They just kept saying, we don't know. Even though I asked them that.
When they said, I don't know, it gives me hope. Because at least they're not telling me, you're gonna die. Your son is gonna die in 2 months. So it creates that hope that the doctors can also make mistakes and diagnose their own cancer. And then later on they'll find out that, his cancer was treatable. It's worse than to say, yes, I do know. You're gonna die in 6 months. And I don't know, you might die in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, I don't know. See how that word changes.
If that was my fate, then that was my fate. I mean, it just sucks. I wasn't ending on my own terms, but it was just cut shortly.
He feels like all he's doing is not taking him anywhere, and he's just delaying they're just delaying my death.
I met my actual doctor for the very first time. His name was Dr. George Yakmor. We had our first meeting, and this young doctor, I think, was from Ukraine. Smart doctor, very savvy, very young, looked in his 30s.
Treating Edgar was an honor. When I gained the trust of Edgar, the treatment plan and the course went much better. So the first time when we met Edgar and we talk about the treatment and the chemo, Edgar in his situation, young, of course, full of hope and plan, young patient at his age that he's supposed to be like having a normal life. He turns out to have bad cancer, rare disease, and he needs chemo. Of course, he would go through the denial and he would question, which is normal, but at the same time, at Edgar's case, it was a little bit more challenging.
Dr. Yakmor said, I'm going to be honest. You have a 70% chance of living through it. And I said, what about the other percentage? With the other percentage, let's not worry about that. Let's worry about the 70%. Because I dealt with this before. We're going to do our very best to serve you and to help you get better. There was one rare occasion that did happen to a young patient a while ago. When they did the chemo on that person, it worked on him. And when they did the bone marrow transplant, he actually lived.
I would say treating patient like Edgar, it is the most rewarding things I've ever think of. I love the fact that Edgar is very smart and he wants to know every step and he asks very good question.
I did have confidence that my mom and dad were extremely, extremely grateful and happy.
Seeing this young, very young doctor. But then again, genius comes in many forms. A child and an old man, it doesn't matter. But they gave us hope right away. He came with this attitude, oh, don't worry about it. Live your life like nothing has happened. I'll take care of you. I'll cure you. I'll do everything in my power. You'll see. Don't worry about it.
He's such a good doctor. Like he say, are you fighting? If you my patient. If you continue fighting, I'm here with you. I'm your doctor. So we have to keep fighting, okay?
Even though we didn't have a cure. But just that hope that he gave us that day, I mean, it made my day. It made everything. I mean, it's like, wow. Edgar doesn't understand the condition and that his life has to be in pause. And that was it. I mean, it's very simple.
I was still upset that I had to go through this. You have to understand, I have my phone with me, and I was seeing everybody's life having the grand old time except for mine. I can't just take a picture and just say, hey man, I'm in the hospital. Yeah, like I can't do that. And their life was going on ahead while mine was just standing still.
You play, soccer. You break your leg. And you will be just with the phone, seeing everybody having fun, playing, determined days, hey, you know what? You're done for the season. You're not coming back. And probably not only that, then later on they do more tests like, you're done. You're not playing soccer ever again. How many athletes have you heard that has happened to them? A lot of them, right? And to cope with that is very hard.
I mean, he's free in his soul, and he's free even when he's denying. He wanted to get treatment and he want to fight the cancer. At the same time, he doesn't want to feel sick.
Having your routine that you enjoy, what you do, and then for some reason they come and say, hey, you know what, you're losing your hearing and you're losing your sight. Imagine. And then we'll treat you. It will take time, but you cannot go out. We're gonna do some surgery and we're gonna bend your eyes. Have it a bandage all around, and you're gonna be like that for 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Just imagine, just close your eyes and imagine that, not be able to open your eyes for 3 weeks. Why you? Why you? Why when there's other people out there that, they're just wasting their life, but they don't have none of your symptoms, they don't have none of your illnesses, but why you? And that has been always the problem with Edgar. And I'm sure I understand that part. Some sort of a jealousy, upset with life. Why him?
Now the second thing is just to find a bone marrow donor, to see who is willing enough to donate a bone marrow to me. They look at donors that they have on their file to see if there's any compatible match for me. The thing is, with bone marrow, they primarily want siblings or someone in the family realm. We are a pretty small family.
There's a kind of like a bank. It's called, I think, is Be the Match. And you volunteer for Edgar, but it may be compatible for someone in Germany or in Japan.
Like, how do you find the right donor? Like, what do you mean? And we're trying to find the donor who had like a similar DNA percentage as me, similar like ethnicity background as me, and probably around the same year I was born, or primarily the same year. Asking if there is any donors and saying no, and I felt like it felt like clockwork. I didn't want to hear I don't know. I wanted to hear a yes or no question. And I hated when people say shit like that. Oh, I don't know. The fuck do you mean I don't know? So I got to the point where I was saying that to the doctor. I was like, what the fuck do you mean I don't know? I'm trying to ask you about my fucking health, about this whole thing. They said, look, we just don't know. We have to do more. We have to wait. You have to be patient.
Edgar had pushed me to the breaking point. I was like, why am I not cured? Why are you doing this to me? You say this, you say that, and you're just, using me as a guinea pig. And they were just going and going and going after the doctors.
He was pretty much just saying, like, look, you just have to just stay calm and just be positive about the whole thing. I mean, I don't know how.
Personally, if I told Edgar, I don't know, of course, I don't know. We cannot give him false information or false reassurance. At the same time, we cannot give him exact numbers, because Edgar case wasn't a case that we have enough of data. We have to know what we don't know. That's why we have trial, we have research, and we have to know by treating and observing and paying attention to details and communicate what we know and what we don't know. Patient believe like me, if I walk into the room, I should know everything, because he's trusting me in his disease and in his life.
It is possible that all of the chemo that you have has weakened the cancer. Dr. Youngworth didn't even mention that. That it's a possibility that if I do all of the chemo, it was going to weaken it.
The bone marrow transplant. Process, how it works, is not like Edgar may need you. If you can donate your bone marrow to him, you might be compatible. It's not like you just go and you take a test and you came out to 85% compatible with Edgar. Although you have no relationship, but for some reason, for some miracle, your cells are almost the same as Edgar. No, it doesn't work like that. Ideally had to be his sister. It doesn't matter which one of them. Doctor told us that one of them most likely was going to be 100%, compatible. But since they decided to be away from the family, I know they got the message, but none of them decided to reach out to Edgar. I don't know why. My daughter and my stepdaughter didn't step into the plate and help out. It wasn't for me. It wasn't for, their mom. It was for their only brother they have alive.
When we with Edgar have to be always positive. They don't have any medicine for me or for my husband. Sometimes he's doing well, and another day he doesn't have much energy, especially when he want to play the guitar, because he's tired. And he told me before, I want my energy back. I want to do so many things. One day he said, you know what, Mom, that's it. I give up. I try to do my best.
That's it. No bone marrow, nothing. He didn't want anything. But being with him at the hospital, day in, night out, they come in and wake you up every 2 hours, sometimes every hour, to draw blood, to measure your weight, your vitals, draw blood again. Oh, now we need this, we need that. Oh, you need to take these pills. I was there just to keep in company. And I couldn't sleep no more than 1 full hour. Neither was he. So being in a hospital like that for 3 weeks to 6 or 8 weeks, it's not easy. You do think about it, you know what, screw this. I don't want this no more. I'm gonna suffer all this. So at the end, they're gonna tell me that, guess what, man? We couldn't cure you. I'm sorry. You only have a couple of months. He just had it. So I'm not doing this. I want this big line out of my body right now. And I just had it with him too. I said, fine, remove it. But the moment we walk out of here, Edgar, I'll need a favor from you. Sure, name it. We're gonna go to the funeral house. I need you to sign some papers because I have to be ready for what's gonna come. Yeah, I don't know exactly the date it's gonna happen, but it's gonna be very soon. You're choosing that date today.
There was a guy next to me who was going through the same thing I was going through. He had cancer. He noticed that how angry I was, and he said, "This is your first time?" And I said, I was being calm. I was like, "Yeah, this is my first time." And he said, "This one's like my second time being here through here." I was like, "Are you serious?" He was like, "Yeah, man." I was like, "Fuck, dude, like that sucks." I was like, "Yeah, but like, I gotta get better. I'm getting healthy. I gotta get better." And he's just like, "Well, how do you get better?" With family, man. Surrounding the people who you love and who they love you back. You have a loving mother and a loving father. There's so many people who I've been through in this hospital, they don't even have that.
Cancer is not only for one people. That's the problem with Edgar. I go, yes, it's true. You're the one with that getting poked with the needle. Yeah, it is true that you're the one who's getting that medicine inside. But family suffers too. We're all suffering, and ours is internal, which sometimes is more painful because as a father, not be able to do anything. I will, hey, have my arms, poke me all you want, don't do my son. I will gladly take his place without a blink.
I basically looked him in the eye and I just told him I just didn't want to die. But I said to myself, if I was going to die, at least I'll die trying. At least I died with saying, like, at least I gave it a shot. That's how I kept on going. It takes a lot of patience to train a dog, but it's not impossible. Yeah, it's a good girl. Nope. I'm writing a script. I have two friends who are very, very cool. They're very cool friends. And they're both named Austin and Brandon, and this is based off of a true story of what happened. Interior, Brandon's bedroom. Austin, Edgar, and Brandon are placed. Austin and Brandon are struggling to beat Edgar. Out of pure frustration, Austin yells out, "What the fuck?" Edgar, "Yep, I'm Austin." "Fuck you, man. This shit doesn't take any skill." "You're right, but you still lost." "Whatever, I don't care." Austin lets it go. He's still salty. Wow, it's only two. Brandon versus Edgar. Let's go! Edgar is spamming, making Brandon furious. This is bullshit. What? Don't you what me? Brandon tries to charge with his most powerful move, but Edgar keeps getting him. Austin yells in the background, "Fuck him up, Brandon!" that's pretty much it. Oh man, silly screenplays are they're just whatever, whatnot.
It's hard for me or you to even imagine what Edgar had to go through. The amount of chemotherapy, the toxicity, like, you know, if you enjoy sometimes to drink water without throwing up and enjoying the fact of eating and having a bite and eat. Edgar, even like the basic stuff that people enjoy, he lost that enjoyment because of the toxicity of the treatment.
My dad and my mom decided to say, okay, well, what if we offer ourselves to be the bone marrow donor? Dr. Egmore says, that could work. We need to do a sample first, so they did a swab sample. With me and my mom, it was not entirely there, but with me and my dad, it was like almost 100%. He didn't want to wait anymore.
And probably if he would have waited, probably that cancer would have gone into metastasized. Was gonna be all over his body. Not even the 100% compatible bone marrow would have done anything at all. So time was sensitive.
He just thought that maybe there might be something, and there was something.
Ignorance, completely ignorance of what to come, what to expect.
Dr. Yagmore says, okay, so here's how this is going to happen. You're going to be admitted to the hospital, pretty much take chemo, and we're going to give you more stronger doses than your average chemo. More powerful chemo. The chemo that they were going to do was stronger. Pretty much it was going to ruin my entire body. And the symptoms were going to be even worse. It was like a motherfucker. They called it the tornado or the storm because there was a wave of storm coming.
They gave me this new form. I forgot the name of the. I have to inject myself on the belly twice with at least 600 to 800 milligrams for 6 days. Those could be fatal. It could make one of my organs just start just swelling and blow up. They have used that in rats. After reading that, it makes you think about it. But it's my son. I have no choice. It's like with it. You know what? I don't care. So I did it. I injected. Within 15-20 minutes, you start feeling a tingling sensation all over your body. To the point that you're shaking. You cannot sleep. You're just shaking and shaking. And headaches.
I didn't know they were doing it to my dad. I didn't know that if I knew they were going to put my dad in so much pain, I would have just said, fuck that. The nurse told him that it was going to be really painful. And my dad told the nurse that what my son's been through is even worse. So he just did it.
Well, you know, the bone marrow biopsy usually doesn't require that level of anesthesia because it is just when you go to a dentist and they dig in the bone, they numb the bone and do like dentists wouldn't put you asleep, completely asleep. Usually we do numb the bone, and it is dangerous because you know those has toxicity as well to get the patient into this deep sleep.
Edgar is going through a lot of pain because they're draining everything from Edgar. They're bringing his immune system, his bone cell, to nearly zero.
My dad, at first, woke up super early. He went into the hospital, Nora's downstairs.
And I see that they're bringing this machine. And they put me in a room separate from other people.
And they have this big needle.
about this big. About, sorry, I'm gonna use my middle finger, but it's about the size of my middle finger long. And I see that and I say, fuck, what's that? And the nurse is looking at me, well, you're gonna have a bone marrow transplant today. Yeah, where's the doctor? When where's the doctor? You're poor. You're gonna get it the hard way. I was in shock. And I'm not gonna lie. I doubted for a moment to do it or not to do it. To say like, because she said it, if you wanna postpone, let's postpone. I'm like, no, I have insurance. I can pay for me. I'm gonna have my insurance product. Hey dude, your son is up in the third floor, man. He's ready to accept that bone marrow. It's not like, and I remember they have drained him already. So I couldn't like say, oh, let's do it tomorrow, let's postpone or whatever. So in reality, I didn't have no choice.
They did like a crucifixion like Jesus. They tie him up.
And then she says, you're gonna be like this for 6 or 7 hours without moving. If you move, we're gonna start all over again for 7 hours. What the fuck? Being poor has its cost. And then she grabs my hand like, this is gonna hurt. And that's the big needle. And I just see that freaking needle just coming through my hand. I screamed like a little bitch. I threw a big scream because it hurts. It does hurt a lot.
They put the needle right here, right here. They finally get a lot of bone marrow in the blood from him.
And I noticed like about 2-3 hours into it, there was nurses coming in.
Nurse, come over here. Come, they tried to get the other nurse. My dad was scared. He's like,
What's going on? Why are these nurses like?
and the nurse said, like, this is one of the purest bloods we have ever seen. This is amazing. It's like red, orange. Like, this is like gold to them.
Color of your bone marrow, it's beautiful. We don't see that many times here.
They showed another person what they were doing, another bone marrow transplant to another person. Black. Because the person did so much smoking and alcohol.
They collected of my body about 4.5 million stem cells for Edgar. But that was nothing. I was drained. I was tired.
When they were done, my dad and my mom were driving all the way back.
I remember my wife was in the car. She was telling me something. I don't even remember what she was telling me, but I really wasn't even paying attention. I was so drained.
And then all of a sudden they got a phone call from the hospital and say, hey,
Nelson, we're so happy. Doctors are so happy with the stem cell. They're like, but Sally, guess what? I go, what? We want more.
how many more? Like 60 more.
Fucking shit. And I was like, and what do you want me to do? Turn around and come back. You're gonna have to inject yourself. Well, this time will be twice the amount of that nipple on my belly. Fuck.
My mom told my dad, don't do it.
Are you sure you want to do it? You know, because you give enough. They give you enough shot to put in his stomach. I say,
I was like, no, it's for my son. Come on, Nelson, you can do it. Don't think about it.
okay then, so do it.
The next thing I knew, I was back in the hospital. Again, like Jesus Christ. Again, the freaking pain. Again, the little scream like a little bitch that I did. But this time I was lucky. I was almost into my 5 hours of being with my open arms where you cannot move yourself or you cannot even blink. Doctor said it's fine. We have, with what you have right now, we think we have about 6 to 7 million cells. So you're gonna have to stay the other 2 hours.
And then they said, yeah, we got everything. We're good. And he was just really exhausted. He was strong. A lot of people had like the bad hangovers. He had the worst hangover of all time. He even came up to see me.
But I wanted to see that moment when the bone marrow was going to be given to my son. So we went up there. And Edgar, you know what? I changed my mind. I don't want that shit. I don't want the bone marrow anymore. What do you mean you don't want it? You're like, no, it's I don't want it, man. It's too painful. It's whatever. I go, Edgar, I just finished doing it. They have it here. They're ready to put it on. I mean, you're not going to pull out right now. And I go, no. But I think, I mean, like I said, he was in bed. He was miserable. He was miserable. He was almost dead. He was just like, I don't want it. And I kind of like started like begging him. You know, I went off on him like, you know what? You know what the fucking pain I have gone through it? All the things we've gone through it. And for you at the last moment say that you don't want it. You need this to survive. Finally, I convinced him.
So they got the bone marrow. And some fucking idiot nurse dropped one of them. My dad wanted to strangle her right there and there.
She drops the line. And you see all my stem cell on that line. She grabs it and she throws it on the trash. And she gets another line and she managed to connect it to the bag. Don't ask me how many millions were there. It was like a large amount, but it was whatever drop was there was necessary, you know? But it was in the entire line. It wasn't just a drop.
They do the bone marrow, and I got the full treatment.
All in all, probably took about 30 minutes in total, and they said it was going to take an hour.
The procedure was I had to stay in the hospital, and they wanted to see the results to see if my blood counts will rise up and my white cells will come back up too. Because all my cells counts were 0. Like this was like a dead man's body.
He had to be in the hospital for a month and a half. Like we trying to explain to him, okay, you will have to deal with this and you have to be in the hospital for a while. I know it sucks. I know you don't want to be in the hospital for so many days, but we have to. And in the beginning, he's scared. He say no. That's what you wanted. You wanted this bone marrow transplant, right? And you got it. You know, Dr. Jackman, they give it to you. They give you this option, and I say, I start thinking about, of course, scared. I say, okay, you're right.
So I waited, and all I saw was a fucking board still saying 0. I just remember instantly, like, oh, this shit didn't fucking work. I had to keep waiting. I was being patient. I was never much of a patient person. I hate being patient. I was always impatient. But I had to be, and I could sit, and I always, every single time the doctor came in, I asked them, like, have the cells come back? And they're like, no. And I'm just like, okay, well, do you have an idea when? They were like, we don't know when. And it's just like, again.
The first week was very, very miserable for him. But by the 9th or 10th day, he was already starting to feeling better. But by the 14th, 15th day, he was like already insisting to go home. He wasn't feeling any pain or anything. He just wanted to go home.
And then one morning, the doctor came in. Right off the gate, the doctor said, "Oh, I got some good news. The cells are coming back up. They're like 0.3." And I'm like, I was shocked. I was like, "Oh my God, it's working?" He was like, "Yeah." I just didn't know what to say. I thought I was like, "Oh, this is amazing." And I told him immediately, I called my parents. I told them, like, "Hey, like, this is amazing." I was supposed to get out of the hospital in like 3 or 4 months, but I got out early. Way earlier. Me and my dad had a bet. My dad's bet was that I was gonna get out on Friday. My bet I was gonna get out on Thursday. I got out on Wednesday. The doctors were so right on so many parts. It's like, this was gonna happen to you. This happened. This is gonna happen to me. This actually happened. The only thing that were wrong was the day I was gonna get out of the hospital. They double checked. They thought they fucked up. They were like, no, like, he can't get out. And then they know he's back to his cell counts are back to normal. It's like, this is way too early. He's like, but he's fine. And so they like, okay, and they let me go. Funny thing, that day that I got out of the hospital, I immediately called one of my friends. I said, "Hey, I'm out." It's weird. I felt like I'm saying I got out of jail. I just got out of the hospital. And immediately I told him, like, "Hey, like, you want to jam out?" And he's like, "Well, I have a gig, but we need a bass player." He says, "I can do it." So I played the gig, and then that night I got to play the bass. I was so fucking weak, but I played the bass with them that night. Well, I didn't care that I just got out. I still wanted to play.
We start planning, maybe we can go in the future, travel with him to see everything will be fine. But
La mano. Con el Espíritu Santo que perdona todos los pecados. Gloria al Padre, Hijo y Espíritu Santo, como era el principio, ahora y siempre. Amén. 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 Padre nuestro en el cielo, por medio de esta unción, concédela a nuestro hermano Edgar, el alivio a sus sufrimientos. Cuando tenga medio, concédele valor. Cuando se sienta afligido, dale paciencia. Cuando se sienta deprimido, concédele esperanza. Cuando se sienta solo, dale campaña de tu pueblo santo, la familia, los doctores, todos, de lo que te pedimos por Jesucristo nuestro Señor. Amén. La bendición de Dios Todopoderoso, Padre, Hijo, Espíritu Santo, que sea nosotros. Edgar, you received the sacrament, okay? Very good. God bless you. Jesus' name, okay? All the time, Jesus' name, okay? I'll pray for you, okay? Okay, good.
Because he's my son. He's my child, my baby. To see Edgar got all this price, it's not fair. It's not fair it's because just my son, because he's such a good son. He never be in drug, he never be drinking, he's perfect.
One day, my own child, I don't have to bury another child of mine, because that's kind of like out of the normal. Your children has to bury their dad because we grow old, not father having to bury, putting their son into a coffin and burying them. Probably he doesn't remember, but since he was a little kid, I always said, hey, I would ask him, if I were to die, what would you do? And he would look at me and said, I don't know, Dad. And what do you think I would like you to do? I don't know, Dad. You know what I would like you to do? Live your life to the fullest. Live happy. If death comes for me, anticipated, it's fine. Don't worry about it. My time was supposed to be that day, at whatever age I was. But I don't want you to do anything. I want you to fight, and I want you to live and have a healthy and happy life. Having this battle against cancer, and one of the rarest cancer in the world. It's not just something, whatever cancer. Oh yeah, we have so much information. No, that we're treating somebody with this new drug for this rare cancer that we don't have any treatment and we didn't have any cure, and there's no data. They said there's no data. That's the problem. He's written a book. Like I told him, see how the doctor was talking to you? You're my first patient, Edgar. You're the first person. Imagine that. To hear that, you're the first patient. We cannot reference, oh, we did this with this guy, we did this with this other patient in 2007. No, there's nothing. There's zero. There's no book. Now there will be a book. And the first chapter was Edgar Aldana.
I'm walking in the charcoal. I'm walking in the fire. But I'm here. Stand and try to do my best. I don't know why. Why me? Why us? But I'm here.
Imagine right now, there's probably someone of your age that just got diagnosed with that same cancer that you have. And guess what? There's a patient out in Los Angeles, in California, and it's working out with it for him. We have now the data to back it up, so we know what to do now. And you're the one that began everything, that started everything. So, if that's his purpose in life, that's it. We all have a purpose in this life for something.
Here, Alex. Yeah, this weird like signature he did. Content with who I am, I'm glad. I don't really know myself, but that isn't bad. You'll always wonder how things are in your life. Free from misery, free from who I once was. Embrace the past, embrace the love. I have grown in many ways. I've learned what I receive can never be returned. And every night I ask myself, and all the questions I made, never realizing that I was never fully to blame. Staying silent was the best way to say goodbye to you. Closure never really existed, 'cause deep down we know it's true. I'm fine with being alone, but from time to time I pass by. You always wonder how things are in your life. Free from misery, free from who I once was. Embrace the past, embrace the love.
Okay. You wanna say something to the camera?
There was this girl, she's doing the exact same program. She's doing a bone marrow transplant, waiting until she gets out. I don't know if she got out or not. I went to see her. She was lying in the exact same position that I was lying in. Kind of similar design of the room whatsoever. The only difference is the view was different. She was standing there talking to my mom, talking to my dad. I was sitting there and she stared at me and she asked me so many questions. I was like, how did you get out early? She's like, I don't know. Yeah, you're right, I didn't know. I didn't know how I got out. I guess I just persevered, I think. She says, I cannot believe that you got out so early and that you're not letting this cancer get to you. She said, I never thought in a million years that somebody would say this to me, but she said that you're my inspiration. Never thought in a million years I'd hear that. Said I love her and I said, you're gonna make it. She says, thank you. And that's what I wanted to say to everybody. Thank you.
Yeah, boy! Hell yeah! Very nice, boys. You got a lot of compliments. 6 people are watching.
Hey, that's a record.
Wow, way better than mine. I think it's because of their life.
I have friends.
Yeah, fuck. God damn it.
Try moving the lamp up a little bit.
Like that?
Not sure.
Ooh, ready, James?
Yeah.
Ooh, I'm hyped. Ready?
Edgar O'Donnell on the guitar.
I was about to say, I don't know, was that something like that? Something like that, yeah. You need another take, or is that good?
Don't let them.
I don't know how to talk like him. All I know is to talk like him. You recording?
Yeah.
Well, that was sick. All right.
I think that's it. Later, guys.
Bye.
See you.